Hey guys, it's Bear with the Gimpy Camper. So today we're going to go over a special little project about putting rollers under the slides. You know, and a lot of these slides, especially in our Keystone Cougar, a lot of these manufacturers actually just use wear bars now. And those wear bars are just like, they're a mixture of like rubber and plastic, and they sit right inside the opening in the slide, and the slide just rolls over the top of it. So it creates a little bit of resistance. It can cause some breakdown in your slides, so that's why we generally recommend like slide skis and stuff like that. And we just had a video on those, and I'll put that up here. Now, we was actually putting those slide skis on whenever I noticed that I was having a real big issue of my slide going in and out. And so I decided to try to add some rollers. Now, I will say that my way is more of the trial by fire method, and it's not the way that I would recommend. I would actually recommend not installing it the way that I'm going to, which I'm going to walk you through what I did. But first, I'm going to show you an example of how to properly install them and what I would recommend. So for that section of the video, we're going to go talk with my friend Kirk here at the Cougar RV Rally, and we're going to see how he installed it to see what you really should do, because he did a lot better job than me. And we're going to get to that right after this. Hey guys, so I'm here with Kirk. Kirk's a friend of mine. We're here at the Keystone Cougar Owners Rally in Shipshewana, Indiana. And whenever I was having my issues with my slide rollers that I was trying to fix, I did some searches on some different Facebook groups and stuff. And I ran across an example of what he did, which is much better than what I did, which we'll show you in a little bit. But it's also an easier application, and it just looked like an overall better project. So I'm going to introduce Kirk here to you, and I'm going to kind of let him tell you what he did. So in essence, the rollers that I ended up using, I think they were really made to go on before the slide, with the slide out, basically. And so they're L-shaped, and you have to cut the wear bars down. You got to do all that. So what's different about the ones that you put on?
So I use the BAL rollers. BAL is another manufacturer. Most the slides that we're talking about are Lippert slides. I chose the BAL rollers because they're a lower profile, and they're shaped, the bracket is shaped into an L, so that the lip of the bottom of the roller sits right on the bottom opening of your slide out box, or excuse me, your slide out opening. It attaches to the camper with screws, and your slide out box sits on top of that roller, and your slide out box rolls over the rollers, essentially. So I did initially try several different Lippert rollers, and they just didn't work for whatever reason. Mainly because when the slide was going in or out, it would teeter-totter, and there was a lot of play in it. I didn't like that, so I tried the BAL rollers, which is what I have on the kitchen slide on the other side of the camper, and those work flawlessly. So I tried them on this side, and these are working flawlessly. And we'll show you in a moment how I installed it and what I used.
So something else that you did that I didn't go that far, but I think it's a good idea if somebody wants to, is you did add some reinforcement to the bottom of the slide with some plastic or something, didn't you?
Correct. I used ABS plastic strips that I had cut 6 inches wide, 43 inches in length, which is the depth of this slide. And when I had the slide jacked up, I was able to slide it under the slide box and attach it to the bottom of the Darko, the bottom of the slide box. And by doing so, that will allow the rollers to roll on the ABS plastic and not tear the Darko vapor barrier up. So a lot of people I've seen and heard where they just install rollers on there, and then over a short period of time, the rollers will wear into the Darko, it'll break it down, and it'll start shredding. So this is a fix for that, and it just gives it a much nicer and solid surface for the rollers to glide over.
I have seen people use plastic. I've also seen people use like stainless steel. My question was always, but how do you attach that and not have like screws hanging down? I guess with the plastic, you probably just glued it on, didn't you?
So with the plastic, I used 3M ultra high bond tape, 3/4 inches wide, and I went around the perimeter of the strip, the ABS plastic strip. It is a little challenging to pull the release strip off of the tape underneath the slide, but it is doable. It comes off in generally one strip, so if you can tuck it up underneath there and pull it from the other side, you're good to go.
All right, so let's take a look at what you did.
Okay, so safety first whenever working on your RV. So to do this project, you'll have to raise your slide. And I used my automotive floor jack to raise it. I used a 4x4 post and a 2x6 on top of the post and raised it right here from the floor. And you only want to raise one side at a time. Once you get it raised, you're going to want to put a 2x4, 2x6 underneath on the inside of the slide. And what that will do is allow you to work in here, and in the event your jack fails or something happens, this doesn't come crashing down on your hand. So safety first there, and then once you're done with this side, you can remove the 2x4, 2x6 will work, whatever you have, and then use it on the opposite side of the camper when you get over to that side. So when I started this project, as I said earlier, I tried a couple of different types of rollers, and they just did not work for a myriad of reasons, primarily because the slide box would teeter as it goes in and out. And what that was doing is it was being pushed upward by the rollers, and the rollers were supporting the entire weight of the slide box, and you don't want that. There's that wear bar just about 2 inches inside the opening here, what the box slides on, the slide box slides on. And you want that as the primary weight bearing, not the rollers.
So do you want those rollers to be the same thickness as the wear bar?
Yes, the wear bar, at least on this slide and most likely all Keystone slides, these are 1/2 inch rollers, so it's a 1/2 inch wear bar. Yeah. So the wear bar is 1/2 inch, and these are a 1/2 inch roller, the BAL roller. I did a little math. I calculated approximately how far I wanted them spaced based on the length of my slide box. I marked the areas that I was going to install them on, and then I cut out the appropriate area for the roller, so I can slide the roller into the opening here, and then I affixed it with the screws.
But you said that you just had to remove the wiper seal when you was talking about cutting it away, right?
Yeah, you don't have to. You won't be able to remove this because it is part of the wear bar. It's actually attached to the wear bar, so this you will not be able to physically remove it. So you'll have to cut it away from the area that you have that you're going to put your rollers. Now, once I figured out where I was going to install each roller, I attached the ABS strips underneath where the rollers were going to roll onto the slide box. Going a step further, I also attached on both sides these slide skis, and I did it in the same manner as I did these ABS strips. I used 3M very high bond tape around the perimeter and on the edge, and then resealed the edge once it was complete.
All right, Kirk, so thanks for talking us through this. Now, I also wanted to mention that Kirk's just starting his own YouTube channel, so give us the name of that.
It's Follow Your Path.
So guys, if you have any questions, you can shoot them over to his channel at Follow Your Path, or you can put them in the comments down below. We can try to answer them as best we can. This is one of those things that There's no black and white right answer. I like this answer a lot better than what I did, which I'm going to show you next on what not to do, where we didn't follow a lot of Kirk's safety rules. And we jacked the slides up on both sides, and we had one fall down on our fingers because we didn't put something in there. So yeah, safety first, not safety third. So we'll get into that in just a second, but we'll see you guys in a second. All right guys, so I already told you I'm not a professional at this, and I'm just going through how I did this, and truthfully, I already told you that I would use this as an example of what not to do, okay? The first thing that you're going to have to remember whenever you think about a project like this is you're going to have to think about supplies, because unless you're here in Shipshewana, Indiana, right next to Elkhart, where it's like the RV capital of the world, you're probably not going to be able to find any slide rollers locally. So you're going to have to prepare for this project ahead of time. That's kind of what got me in the pinch, because I was actually in Michigan visiting my stepmom, and I was working on the camper, and I came up with the need for these slide rollers. And so I just had to order some on Amazon, but I couldn't order just any of them on Amazon because I had a predetermined time frame that I had to have them by and have them installed so that I could get on the road and go home to Tennessee. So that's step number one. Now there's a few different types of those slide rollers. The biggest thing that you want to keep in mind is the size of the roller should match your wear bar inside of the RV. You know, Kirk told you that he had an issue with a couple of them that he tried where it would like teeter-totter. Well, the entertainment slide that I have, it actually did, it lifted it up a little bit too much. So you could see a gap over that wear bar through the whole slide. So if it's daylight outside and it was dark inside, you could like look, you could see daylight all the way across. Now I did have to change the wiper blade out, and we got all that fixed, but I'm just telling you that's one of the things that you have to think about. Also, as far as different types of rollers, the ones that we have are more L-shaped, and they're made to put 2 screws on the side and 2 screws into the top. We can't put 2 screws into the top while you have the slide in, so you'd have to take it all the way out. That being said, the 2 screws on the side seem to hold it pretty well, and there's not a lot of like force pushing those rollers out because they are rollers. So unless they bind, it's not going to be a lot of force sideways on the roller. And generally speaking, I think that these are going to be fine. Now the problem that I had is whenever I installed this in the videos that I was watching, it said we need to cut the wear bar, which for the roller that I had, you really did have to cut the wear bar. Now, my first mistakes, I watched a video where somebody had a big long blade on a reciprocating saw, went in there, went to town, said that you needed it. You really don't. A normal size one was okay and was just a hair too long, I'll say. But especially when I tried on the first one, I got a big gap in my vinyl plank flooring in there that I still need to go in and fill in with a little bit of caulking because it went a little too far to town, if you know what I mean. Now, in order to do this, we're going to have to jack the slide up, okay? So the number one thing about jacking the slide up is we use a couple of different types of jacks. I used a bottle jack and a floor jack because I did my slides pretty short here. I did jack both sides up at once. Like Kirk said, the safest things to do is to only do one side at a time, okay? Now, he also told you to put like a 2x6 underneath the front edge of that slide to protect your fingers. And if you don't do that, I would do like a 3/4 inch piece like right above the wear bar in the bottom of the slide, which is what I ended up doing. After brilliantly done something and the jack fell over on one side and my fingers were on top of the wear bar, so the slide actually fell down on my fingers, got them caught. And it was one of those times where like it just didn't come out when I pulled, so I had to actually think about like how am I going to get my fingers out of here. And I was reaching for the handle for the jack in order to open it, and I was able to finally get my fingers out from under the slide. So as he said, safety is very important, and you want to do things the proper way so that you don't have your hand stuck underneath the slide like I did. All right, so with my type, like I say, I did have to cut the wear bar. So first you got to cut the wiper seal off the front. I just used a utility knife to cut out the gaps where I was planning on putting the slide rollers. And then the next pro tip that I have for you, if you decide to use the kind that I have, is I would feel that wear bar on the top after you put something in there to protect your fingers, because that's how they screw those down, through the top. And I have a little picture of a piece of one here, and there's a screw head on there because I had to cut the screw head off because I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't come out, and it's because that there was a screw there. So I'd cut the sides, but there was still a screw in the middle holding it down. So try to go between those screws is going to be tip number 2. Usually when you jack it up, you can get enough to get like the reciprocating saw blade in there. But this goes back to, I told you guys to do it Kirk's way and not my way. And if you do it Kirk's way, then he said he's got a little bit of a lip on the edge of that roller, but it doesn't go all the way back. And he actually learned that he didn't have to cut the wear bar. So hopefully you'll put those in, and hopefully your spacing's the same and you won't have to cut the wear bar either. You just cut that wiper seal off, you put about 4 screws in the front, and then you're done. Unless you want to go back and fill in the wiper blade a little bit and try to cover that up a little bit more. But if you do it properly, you do it his way, then that saves you a lot of work, which is why I said that I wouldn't do it my way. Now he also went through and showed you guys how to reinforce the bottom of the slide. I kind of didn't get that far into it. I think that that's a very good idea, but I've personally never saw one that failed from the roller. I think that it usually fails from the wear bar, but he did search out and see examples of where it fails with the roller. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, and I may end up having to add something eventually. But as far as right now, everything seems to be going pretty well with it. So the biggest thing is when you put the screws in, no matter which way you do it, you're going to have to put some self-tapping screws in. It helps to know if you know exactly what's on the other side of the wall there, because obviously you don't want to put a screw hole into any plumbing or electrical work or anything like that. So whenever I put them in, I think I used 2-inch self-tapping screws. I think they were number 12, and they held really good. Now I wish I had more holding points in the front of these, because I only had 2 in each one, and they were pretty close to the top. So that's another reason why I like Kirk's better, is because they're kind of more spread out and they're a little bit lower away from the edge. Now when I drilled mine out to pre-drill it, you could tell it was like aluminum tubing there that was the structure. Well, and that's how I knew that I needed 2-inch, because when I pre-drilled it, it took 2 inches to get to the back side there. Now, I'm going to tell you, the next place that I messed up is because I cut the wear bar, and I had the saw, at least digging into the flooring a little bit right there and messing up any water protection that could have possibly been there, especially on those couple areas where I had to turn it sideways and cut the screw off. But because of that, I started second guessing everything, and I wanted to go back and I wanted to put some underbelly tape underneath it just to give it a better barrier. But whenever I did that with a couple of them on this entertainment slide, essentially when I first put those screws in, and I didn't over tighten them or anything, I didn't strip them, but when I first put those screws in, like you could feel it bite into the front side of that aluminum structure, but when it went to the back side, you really felt it dig in. Well, whenever I removed them and put the tape down and put it back, they didn't hold anywhere near as strong as they did the first time. So I actually decided to stop that process because I didn't want to mess up the holding power of the screws. And I just kind of went around a little bit of them with some sealant and stuff to try to make it a little bit better. The next problem that I had is after I thought I was done, I go inside, and my rollers on this side, I think I used 3/4 inch rollers instead of 1/2 inch rollers. And so everything was lifted up a little bit too much. I tried to put the slide in, it was a little bit wonky. So I had to watch a Lippert video on how to adjust this rack and pinion slide. Now this one, I'm telling you, it's smooth as butter, in and out, in and out. Now after I decided to go back with wood trim inside after I did the slide skis. And I thought I had all that fixed too, but after I got everything together, my 2 drawers on the end wouldn't open all the way because they kept hitting the trim there. So that was kind of a pain. I had to take one of those boards over to Steve's shop, and we ran it through the planer to get it about half of the thickness as normal, and that works great now. But it kept getting on my nerves because you'd be sitting in there and you'd see like daylight there and you'd think, Well, all the cold air is just coming in the wintertime, all the hot air is just coming through, any bugs or anything. So I went down to Steve's shop and he supplied us with some wiper seal that we went through, and we added the wiper seal all along this entertainment slide. Now on the other side, the rollers were the same as the wear bar. Everything was fine. It didn't show anything as bad. Didn't have a gap like that. So what I did on it is I actually just patched in like a 8 or 10 inch piece over the front of the rollers, and that seemed to do fine over there. So all in all, these are working pretty well. I will say, like I said on the slide ski video, my couch slide, which is 12 foot long, whenever I move it in and out now, the first few inches or foot or so, it does kind of jump a little bit. So I've not got all the kinks worked out of it, but it's definitely, after it gets to that point, that few inches, then it's smooth as butter. And I truthfully think that I just have too many layers of things with the slide skis and stuff that just kind of put a little bit more pressure on one side, because there wasn't a whole lot of clearance on either side to start with. And so I think that that's the issue, but it's working out great. Like I said in the last video, it's not a perfect solution for that slide, but it is a solution. It's going to keep it from rotting. It's going to keep me from having to put thousands of dollars into the slide. So I look at it as a win, even though I'm being 100% transparent with you guys and saying that it's not up to my standards as far as my OCD, because I wanted to just move in and move out and look like it's like sliding on some ice right there. But that's the way it goes sometimes, right? All right, guys, so that's really all I was gonna say. I was gonna just show you, how Kirk put these sliders in the rollers, and that's how I would do it. And I'll show you how I did it, and that's not how I would do it. But I do think that it would be great. It's a good idea to go ahead and do these just to help take some of that stress off the bottom of the slide. It goes in and out a lot easier most of the time. And if you don't have anything on your corners, like a slide ski to protect the corners, you definitely need something there. Go back and check out my video on how not to install those. But thanks guys for being part of the family. Thanks for watching this video, and be sure to tune in next week.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.